do you want to hear it? And I'm like, oh yeah, of course, tell me, tell me. And the guy tells, well, it's very simple. Uh, People work 5 days a week.
Louis, thank you so much for coming on to Rising Giants today. We are very excited to be speaking with you, learning about your company Yindii, and as well as a couple interpersonal things about yourself. So, wanted to thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. I love to talk about sustainability. I love to share my passion for entrepreneurship, and if I can inspire other people along the way, that's even better.
Well, perfect, because that's exactly the platform that we are trying to spread too. So thank you for coming on. I think a great place to start for us is if we can dive a little bit into your background and kind of where you got this passion for sustainability and some of your early, more formative experiences that helped grow you into the professional you are today.
Yes. So maybe as a start, I'm French, born and raised, but it's been almost now 15 years that I'm abroad. I think so. I did traditional business schools, and during the business school, that was kind of a pivotal moment, right? Of course, you have to take a decision of what you want to do in your life. And there's two things that really drive me to entrepreneurship. The first one was more on the negative part. So, of course, when you do a business school, they tell you, hey, you have to go to the big ones. You have to learn from the big companies. So I was excited about companies like L'Oreal changing the women beauty. And so I did 1 year with them. And it was probably it was an eye-opening experience, but I spent 6 months in France working on a packaging for hair gel for men. Not very exciting.
Nice. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But really,
sure
just
there
the
has to be some
packaging.
cool things.
Just the packaging, right? So how to make it stand out on a shelf compared to your competition to make sure that people would buy it. And then I realized it was a lot of marketing bullshit, right? You say, hey, we're going to put bamboo so that it will look like it's hard but flexible, and we're going to put cactus so it feels like it can survive the heat, the sweat, whatever. But there's 0.001% of cactus or bamboo in your product, right? And one day there's this big presentation. CEO see the product, go home, and his wife didn't like the product, and so came back the next day. Hey, we start from scratch. And we're like, oh, but we interviewed a lot of potential customers. We've done a lot of researches. We have data. I'm like, no, no, I don't like it. It feels like it's not good. So let's try again. And then you've worked 6 months for nothing. So it was kind of, yeah. I was like, okay, interesting, but not really for me. And the second thing is I got the chance to participate in an international competition of marketing. So we went to the World Cup of a big marketing challenge organized by Henkel, so another big FMCG company. And one of our winning prize was to meet the CEO, right, and spend an hour with him. I was like, oh, I'd prefer something else, but okay, if that could be interesting. And it was a game changer, right? So this guy started to tell us how we spent 20 years into a company. And we asked him, hey, how did you make it to be a CEO? Because that's something that I want to maybe be in the future. And he's like, oh, I find the loophole in the capitalism system. Do you want to hear it? And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. Tell me, tell me. And the guy tells, well, it's very simple. People work 5 days a week. So if you work 6, if you work 7, you're going to climb the steps. And I'm like, okay, not something very new about it. And then he starts telling you how his life is terrible, how he has to take holidays 2 years in advance to make sure he's going there. how we're spending 200 to 300 days a year in a plane. And you realize that's not really maybe something very exciting, especially when you have to do that for 20 years or plus. And I remember always I ask him, hey, what is your biggest dream now? So you've climbed, you're at the top now. What do you want to do? Do you want to climb the Everest? Do you want to travel the world? And the guy said, I want to bring my kids to school. Yeah. And really, you know, for me, it was like, dude, it's normal to sacrifice your life for your career, something you dream on, but it's not even your company. You're now it was something around 45 years old or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, this is not something I'm dreaming about, right? And on the other side, I met a lot of local entrepreneurs from my school. And yes, there was a strong sacrifice, but potentially, you know, big impact and big rewards. So it kind of really drove me to become to choose the path of entrepreneurship. And then I decided to join a first tech startup that was expanding to outside of France. So they were doing, you know, this very old thing 15 years ago. You put QR codes and at the bus stop, and you could get the bus schedules. So really IoT and smart city project, really fun, trying to make the city more interactive. Audio guides that you could get through Bluetooth in public spaces. Very exciting project. And they tell me, hey, we need someone to open Spain. Just go by yourself, do it. So kind of in between entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship, but with the CEO as a mentor and support. And that was, you know, one of the best experience I've had. It was exceptional, and we scaled Spain and Portugal up to becoming profitable. It helped the company raise $20 million. We went to the US. The CEO told me, hey, do you want to come with me? We'll develop North America. And I'm like, of course. Where do we go? New York. And I'm like, okay, that's my childhood dream. Let's go for it. And so I followed the CEO there to expand North America. So I've learned a lot. It was extremely challenging. And this is when I realized I wanted to do my own project and build my own impact startup, something that is changing people's everyday life.
Mm-hmm. And it's really fascinating that when you talk about your journey, it's starting at a large company and having that experience where you realize that you come to a feeling of maybe of fulfillment where it's not met, and it's a great experience where you see how a large corporation works, but maybe there's something more that you want to roll your hands up or roll your sleeves up and get your hands a little bit more dirty. So as you go smaller and smaller down the scale of company size and you have more responsibilities, you soon realize, is this what you really enjoy? Do you enjoy this creative problem solving? Do you enjoy this these kind of challenges of where you're actually seeing the tangible growth of the business due to the output of the work that you put in? And so I think when I hear your experience, it's really it's great to know that going and spending that time and dedication and going to different countries and successfully scaling businesses within the business, the overall business, those are such valuable skills and traits that you can take to anything that you want to start. And also, I'm curious, how was it having the CEO as being a mentor? What were some of the key takeaways that you learned from that experience?
So it was actually a woman CEO. She was brilliant. I think I've learned a lot on her on how to delegate things. So basically, at the beginning, I was coming with problems and say, hey, we have this. This client doesn't want to sign the contract. How do we do, right? And she's like, I don't know. This is your market. So how do you want to do it, right? And she forces me to come with a solution, right? And I say, okay, maybe I have this idea. What do you think? and she's really trying, instead of telling me, hey, you need to do this, this is what you should do. Okay, look for a solution, propose me a few options, and we'll discuss, right? And this is gonna be your project, not mine, right? And she really was extremely good at empowering me to take my own decision. And that really was fulfilling, right? And I say, hey, this is my idea. I think we should go this way. What do you think about it? And she's like, yeah, I think it's terrific. Just try. And we tried it. I remember one of our biggest success. I signed my first $1 million deal when I was 26. And that was through her mentorship, right? Of course, she was behind, but I was always on the front, right? And she never tried to come into a meeting and say, "Okay, give me the space. I'm the CEO," right? She was always like, "You're the boss here, right? I'm here in the back supporting you, right? If you need me for anything, but this is your project, this is your company, this is your thing, right?" And extremely rewarding for that aspect. I was super impressed by her, how would you say, by her capacity and her vision and her capacity to share that vision, right? We were putting QR codes at bus stops, right? But she was selling this vision of a connected city. She was able to raise $20 million and onboard a lot of investors, excite the whole team. That was extremely impressive. So that's also one of the things I'm trying to do is how do you keep, it's very challenging when you're on a day-to-day operation and shit and your tech not working and people want to leave and you have to be, have this long-term vision while you have to deal with day-to-day shit. So that's something I'm sometimes trying to, stand up, take the head above the difficult day-to-day task and think, hey, this is where we're going and this is why we're doing it. And this is, actually what drives us, right? Yeah. So trying to share that with the team is today is one of the biggest applicable learnings for me.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I really love that piece of empowerment to wanting to bring, as a CEO, you do have so much power in the business. You're the one who's leading it, but being able to empower those around you to grow and really prosper. I mean, that really is what honestly develops or grows a successful business and allows for that scalability and also just for your own learning too. One of my VP actually, he likes to drop in occasional like pop quizzes just for fun on like new areas of learning in the business. So kind of forces on you to be able to think versus there's like a no judgment zone, but it's forcing you to think outside of how you would normally do it. And, after that, even if it's an uncomfortable situation, you would still come away from that being like, oh yeah, I really can learn that and apply that to other areas of a business. So I think that's really cool that you went through something like that. And, moving from Europe to US and then you found yourself in Southeast Asia. Can we dive a little bit into that story and kind of how that brought you to founding Yindii? Okay.
So I think that the pivotal moment was after 7 years in that startup. I've learned a lot. I really was super excited about the mission, but it came at a time where we're starting to realize that, QR code is nice, but this is potentially not the next thing, and we have to evolve. And then the company took a direction that I was not super excited with, or no longer excited with, right? I were expecting this company to become a unicorn, and then it didn't. So there's a moment where your passion fades away. So I took the decision to leave. And that was the moment where, you've worked hard for 7 years. I knew I had something I wanted to build. I didn't know why yet, but I knew, and I wanted to take a little bit of time off. So this is the moment where I decided to take a gap year with my wife. And travel the world, right? That was a dream we had. The first date we had with my wife, we talked about traveling the world. And this discussion came again, right? And we had this moment where we both wanted a potential break. And we started brainstorming and say, hey, how can we make this this travel insightful? Not just traveling and visiting places, but meeting locals, be helpful, do something that matters. And she was coming from booking.com, right? So she knew extremely well the hotel segment. And she was like, hey, I've talked with people with colleagues in Southeast Asia. And one of the things that seems to happen quite often is a lot of hotels owner, a small, guest house, knows very well how to run a hotel, but they are terrible at digital, right? They, Booking or Agoda are those kind of platforms that are similar to Google. You need to have SEO experts, right? And if you're an hotel and you don't have a Booking or Agoda expert, it's very difficult to be visible, to stand out. And you're too small to have an account manager or someone teaching you, right? And she's like, why don't we help those people, right? We could contact them and maybe propose our service for free in exchange of free housing, right? And that's how everything started. So we built this non-for-profit called Hotel Without Borders. And I was the sales and marketing guy, so contacting hotels and saying, hey guys, can we come and help? We'll help you with your pictures. We'll help you with your positioning on those platforms. You don't have to pay anything. We come for free. And it was super exciting. So basically, we helped 14 hotels in 12 countries, mostly APAC. And I will always remember, so we arrived in Luang Prabang, helping this lady that has a very nice guest house. And she was like, my life is becoming terrible. I'm not getting much reservation. I have to kill my process at the last day to make sure I get some money to run the hotel. Terrible. We start taking new pictures. We start looking at the description. We start looking at the price, the cancellation policies, whatever things that normally you're, maybe a set of stone, but you've never challenged it. She had a tough understanding or not a clear understanding of what European customer would need or American people when they would come. We changed that half a day. Next day, she comes crying and say, I've never seen so many reservations in my life. And boom, it become an evidence that we were having positive impact, and it and now we were inviting to family dinners. We were inviting in weddings. We made huge friends along the way, and that was really incredible. And that was our first door, I would say, to Asia. And after 1 year, we say, okay, now we wanna settle down. We fell in love with Thailand and decided to set up here, and that's how our Asian journey started. And for me, a little bit, so this really changed my mind in a way that I wanted to have an impact on people, right? Improve people's businesses or improve people's life on the day-to-day, something that matters. So that stayed in my mind as what I wanted to achieve when I was building my company. And maybe a year later, I joined this big tech startup expanding in Southeast Asia on the retail. So an exciting journey, but still not my company. And while I was working for them, I started volunteering for a food charity here in Bangkok that was redistributing food to people in need. Very passionate people, taking the trucks, going to the back of supermarket, cooking the food, redistributing to poor neighborhoods. I was super excited, so I helped them do a crowdfunding. I helped them get potential new partners. It was really, really an exciting journey. And really something that shocked me was the amount of food waste that we were seeing in supermarkets and hotels. And this tiny organization with a few trucks was really having a logistical problem. And I said, how come there's so much food, right? You should be, we were in 2020, or we're supposed to be in a digital world where you're able to maybe forecast better what you potentially waste to try to reduce it. So why is it so big? And so I started digging a little bit the numbers, trying to understand what was happening around the globe and Thailand around that. And really, when I found the real numbers, I was shocked. Like, do you know that 1/3 of the food we produce will never be eaten? This is mind-blowing, right? And when you're a business, you try to see how much is this, right? So it's $1 to $1.3 trillion worldwide that are just thrown away for no reason. It was insane. And what really also challenged me was the environmental impact, right? Because we know that today a lot of the food is not just produced locally and sold locally, right? It's produced somewhere, transported somewhere else. And so the carbon footprint of throwing away so much food is extremely damaging to the planet. So today we're talking about 8 to 10% of our greenhouse gas emission that are directly linked to food waste. And basically, if you think about it, it's 4 to 5 times as more polluting as the airline industry, right? But the airline, you see it's polluted. When you see food, you don't think it's polluted that much, right? And if you ask people, hey, do you want to reduce food waste at home, in your business, or do you want to stop taking your car, or do you want to stop taking airplanes? It becomes quite clear that food waste is actually an exciting topic to reduce climate change. It's something that we can do, everyone, right? As a consumer, as a business. And so I really felt that there was something that we could do. There was something, smart to be that could be done, right? And so this is when my excitement came so high that I said, okay, maybe I actually need to build my company, right? And so this is the way when the journey started. So I was like, one day it was COVID was starting, so we had those 2 or 3 months at home. And I was like, okay, this is something I'd be excited to work on. I started taking YC Combinator classes online, and knocking at doors. So I got my first customer. So I was knocking at one of the grocery shop here in Bangkok. Met the lady of that really, really nice shop called Sunshine Market. And I tell her, hey, I have this idea. I have nothing, no website, no name, no nothing. Hey, I have this idea. What do you think about it? And the first thing she told me is, where have you been over the last 2 years? I've wasted so much food. I feel ashamed. I probably lost a lot of money as well. And I knew I was on something, that would help her in her business. And if it was just the first one I knocking at the door, there might be a lot of others, right? And so, yeah, this is when I really decided, okay, I wanna do it. So I worked day and night while still having a full-time job, but working on the WordPress website, trying to match, food businesses to consumers, right? So we built this first website very quickly. And yeah, that's how the journey started. And the moment that really make me cry and say, okay, this is a full-time job. You have to do this. I think it was around 3 or 4 months after we launched the beta version. I really invited few friends, put it on Facebook groups, contacting few local blogs, website, local influencer, and in 3 to 4 months we had 4,000 registered users. We had almost 40 restaurants, bakery shops, maybe our first hotel, and we got an article on the Bangkok Post, right? So someone thought that was really, really insightful. Put it there, and I was like, okay, I was crying because they were saying, oh, this amazing idea is changing the world. We all need to change. We all need to do this. And I was like, okay, this is the moment. And I terminated my contract, and now I was full-time entrepreneur.
Thank you very much for all that.
Long story short, sorry.
That's, yeah.
But as you see, I'm very passionate about the topics.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe just like diving into that in more detail, I think it'd be really useful for the audience to for you to maybe set the stage a little bit on like the overall kind of landscape for this. I mean, I think in Asia, maybe it's not as prominent as in Europe. Like people like Good to Go that have raised, I think, hundreds of millions, if I'm right. So maybe if you could just set the stage on that, and like how popular this kind of sector is becoming, and the startups and businesses that are basically addressing this issue.
Yes, I think that now food surplus platform that are connecting food businesses that have excess food, so it's really high quality food, but that have a very short shelf life. So think about a delicious croissant or bread at the end of the day, a ready-to-eat meal that needs to be cleared out before the shop closes, a hotel buffet, or fruits and vegetables at the supermarket, right? So these are perfect product, but there's a moment where it needs to get out of the shelves, and usually it's because the shop is closing. So it doesn't mean that the food is bad, it's just that it's closing, and the next day they won't sell it. And so this concept of a mystery bag or surprise bag kind of propelled in Europe 7 to 8 years ago in Europe, and become a huge phenomenon, right? And now it's almost worldwide. But you have this company in Europe that really inspired me in the journey called Too Good To Go, that is now in 17 countries. They're saving with hundreds of millions of meals every year. It's really massive. They raised a lot of money, went to the US and Canada. So for a European company to go to the US and succeed is a really exciting momentum. It's very, very rare. So very exciting project. We see it's happening also in China, in Japan. So it's kind of booming around the world. Why? Because it's a no-brainer, to be honest, right? It's a no-brainer. If you're a business and you have excess food, you have two choices, right? If you're throwing it away, then selling it at the end of the day at discounted prices for consumer is smart. It's a way to actually make money instead of losses. It's positive for the planet. It's good for your branding. So this is working well for the businesses. It's a win also for the consumer because they get access to quality food, very premium that they potentially could not afford at a fraction of the price. So it's really good for their wallet. And so there's this financial incentive, but there's also this big win for the planet, right? And one of our main goal here is to raise awareness on the problem of food waste. The main difference between US, Europe, and Asia is probably that food waste is not on their top of mind when it comes to climate actions. It's when I was a kid, with my parents and my grandparents, I could not leave the table if there were food on my plate, right? This comes from a history of rationing, especially during the war, that has been given, from generation to generation. And if there's still food on your plate, you eat it. If there's food that you have to waste, you feel bad, right? And that really, when I saw food waste, it really made me sick. And no, don't throw it, give it to me, or give it to someone, do a donation, do something, right? Here, I think at the contrary, a lot of Southeast Asian countries, especially Thailand, I've never lacked food, right? It's a country of plenty. You always have food. So the food waste is not one of their top priority. So our job is to really explain them that yes, actually it has a financial impact, it has a human impact. There's a lot of people having difficulty to eat at the end of the month. And there's this environmental impact, right? And you can stand up and you can actually do something positive for the planet, and you don't have to. It doesn't cost you more, right? It's actually cheaper than your traditional food.
Just to be just to take the other perspective on this, I do presume that the environmental messaging does not resonate as much in Asia, right? In comparison to like Europe and the US, it's more like a question of you're saving money, right? I'm guessing that's the case, right? Have you seen that that play out in your kind of messaging? Like if you say you're saving the planet versus you're saving money, which one do you think clicks more with people?
Yes, I mean, of course. I think that the financial impact is the first driver, right? And I think that's one of the competitive advantage of this model is you're giving food at a lower price, right? Otherwise, everything that is usually sustainable today comes with a premium, right? So if you want to use an alternative to plastic, it comes at a more expensive way, right? If you want to do solar panels and run only on solar electricity, you have to make a big investment up ahead as a business. Here's the contrary, right? It's really the finances are positive. You make revenue instead of losses if you're a business, and if you're a customer, you save money. So this is the first driver for sure. I think what's actually positive is we're not so much of a discount app, right? I mean, there's a lot of discount, and that's our major driver. But we try to turn it into a positive journey, right? And creating a community. We want to try to stay as far away as a discount app because I don't think that creates engagement. At the contrary. So we really have this, we try to embark them into a journey when they come for the discount. Now they become a food hero. They're fighting for the planet, right? And I'm not telling you, hey, you're trying to be a smart buyer. You're trying to find discount. You're a cheap person. No, you're smart. You're a smart purchaser. You're trying to find good deals. And this one is insane because it's actually helped the planet, right? So now you make them proud. And maybe before they would have 50% discounts and they would probably not even talk to their friend. Now they're super proud. They're becoming a fighter for the planet. So they share it with their friends. They talk to their colleagues about it. They share the food. So it has a very positive impact. And now they're seen as the sustainable person, right? So we really turned Yindii into, we're trying to really be the first step in their sustainable journey. Right? And once you've done the step in Yindii and you've saved the food, you're happy, you get this amazing buffet deals or this cake and croissant half price. But now you're paying attention to food waste. Now you're reducing food waste potentially at home, right? Now if you see your friends having excess food and not eating all their plates, say, hey, maybe next time you order less, right? And I think that's the positive step that maybe was not needed in Europe because everybody was well aware of the food waste problem and already doing it at a personal level. This is something that is more challenging here. And the second point, I think that's more challenging with Southeast Asia is potentially access to capital versus Europe as the US, right? So when I was in New York, I got this guy that said, hey, I'm going to build the Netflix of cinema. Right? So he said, hey, for $10 a month, you go unlimited to the cinema. I'm like, that's insane, but my one ticket for the cinema is $15. How does that make sense? Right? No business sense at all. I don't think there was even a business model. The guys raised a few $100 million. I'm like, you know what I mean? And no big impact, I would say, on the planet or for society, right? So I think people are more bold in other countries or region to go for initiatives. Here it's much harder. So you have to fight your way to get potential fundings, and it's much smaller than what you would get in Europe. So I think that's why also those companies were able to expand much faster than we could have in Southeast Asia.
And what's that like journey been like for you on the funding side? So you founded Yindii in 2020. When were you able to then raise capital? And maybe just talk a little bit more about that and your what it's been like communicating this to investors.
So we bootstrapped for about a year on our own. And I mean, it was challenging. I think that my first mistake was waiting too much to try to get fundings. I think I could have gone earlier. That would have helped a lot. One of the things we decided to do is an incubator here in Thailand called SpaceF. So really dedicated to food tech. It was really good for us to start meeting mentors, to start meeting key big players in the food industry, and that really placed us into the ecosystem of tech startup. So that was the best, I would say, the best decision we did to join that program. And through that program, we were meeting a lot of mentors and investors. And at the end of the program, one of those decided to invest in Yindii. So we probably met for the first round, maybe 50 to 80 investors. A lot were talking about sustainability, but nobody was really investing in sustainability. So there was a lot of bullshit. We were also finding that a lot of investors were actually for the next, the big round, Series A, B, C, right? That are extremely rare in Thailand. So that was quite challenging. And
did you? Sorry, just to jump in there. Did you also take like the strategic decision to kind of only go for what you call quote unquote VCs as opposed to the corporate VCs that are very prevalent in Thailand, that you kind of sometimes makes you lose a bit of control, shall we say?
Yeah, of course. So that's a tough decision to make, right? I mean, we knew that with that model, we needed to scale fast. So we needed to find a large amount of money to be able to actually pull the trigger on marketing spending and hiring people. The second thing that I also do not recommend to anyone is I was a solo founder. So this makes fundraising even more difficult. But we had the option of different VCs or investors. The first one was more of a financial VC. So they would give you the money and then you do your own thing. And the one we decided was really a strategic investor that say, hey, you know what? We're going to build the startup with you. We're coming as a co-founder. We're going to follow you every single week. When you need help, we'll be there. If you need to connect with other investors, we'll connect you. If you need whatever thing, we'll put it for you. We'll try our best to support you. So really a very involved and hands-on investor. And I think that was the best decision I took in my life. They helped me to find
do they also get like sweat equity? Is that so? Would that be like a venture studio approach, or is it they invest cash but they just really want to be hands-on? I'm just curious what the like incentive is for them to work on the business more actively than, let's say, just someone that's putting in cash.
So the deal was a seed round, so really cash for equity with a very small percentage as a sweat equity.
Okay, understood. Okay,
but
and what about now?
But again, I think I wouldn't have gone so far without their help. So that was really a game changer. I mean, every entrepreneur needs to know what they need at a specific moment. If what you need is capital to spend on marketing because you already know your market fit and you already know your channel, maybe a financial VC is enough, or maybe an angel is potentially enough to start and build the traction. For us, I just remember we had a WordPress website. So after a year, we were at 40,000 users, MAU, and the website crashed. It was so slow. We really needed to hire a tech team, rebuild the things from scratch. So I needed to almost start the company from scratch, basically. So we had to put a lot of efforts. Again, it was not just, hey, let's tweak a little bit the app and let's get better. We had to redo everything from scratch. So that was key for us to get investment and to get support. So that was, I think, the best decision for what we needed at the time.
Okay, maybe just like getting up more to the present day. So you started Yindii in Thailand. You've now taken it to Hong Kong, and maybe your third market is coming soon. You're currently in a fundraise. Maybe just talk about what Yindii is in 2024, what some of your milestones are, and just goals for the year ahead, I guess.
Of course. So Yindii now is the leading food surplus player in Southeast Asia. We're operating in 2 and soon 3 countries. We've saved something around 150,000 meals from going to waste. We did 4 times more in 2023 than 2022. So the growth is quite staggering. It's very exciting. And today we're still a small team, but very still passionate people. So I find on the way my CMO, which is a digital marketing rock star, so a former Lazada and a former Eatigo. So now co-founder with me full time. So that was also one of the big things that changed, I would say, the company is finding the right people to go with you. And on the maybe to give you a little bit of so yes, we're raising funds. What we realized very soon is that Thailand will be limited in terms of funding. So we had to go first internationally to demonstrate that the model would be scalable and that we could achieve another market. And now Hong Kong for us is booming. It's growing 20% months on months. Our monthly active users are growing 30% months on months with very limited marketing spend. Why? Because this is a cause that people love. So we have a lot of word of mouth. We have a lot of PR. We have a lot of influencer talking about us. We have really this, I would say, strong organic growth that is extremely helpful when you're an entrepreneur. You don't have to spend much to get your customers. So that's exciting. And today, so yes, we're trying to raise a pre-Series A, and we got I think we got one of the biggest VC in the world called SOSV, which is a US-based company helping. So they have a dedicated program called Orbit Startups for fast-growing or early-stage startups in developing countries. So they invest in roughly 40 companies around the globe, so emerging economies. And we've been one of the first and maybe second company that have ever invested in Thailand. So it's quite exciting. And they also come with this huge network of investors, mentors, perks. So I haven't spent any dollars on AWS for the past year, so that's really helpful. And really strong support. So week on week support on how to scale the business. So that was also a very strategic investor. But we also got support from food companies. I think that was important for us to also have CVCs part of the journey, and not only VC. And we also got a strategic investor from a public traded company in Japan that could potentially reuse our technology in Japan. So we really went for. We got lucky, and the fact that we had the choice between different investors, decided to really take the one that could potentially have a big impact in our growth and journey, and not just go for the financial ones. So this is when you're lucky, it's or hard worker, and you have something that people are excited about, investor excited about, is good. But yeah, money is not all. It's key for your success, of course. So maybe one of the I would say advice is go look for money when you don't need it. I think this is when you're more powerful. I think my first time I came a little bit too late. Not too late, but maybe I could have gone earlier. Why? Because when you look for investor, you're not just looking for, you're not knocking at the door and the guy gives you a check, right? You have to build a relationship. You want to see whether they're going to be helpful for you, and they want to see whether you're trustworthy and you can build something that actually scales, right? So we started this business update that is actually it's very insightful. So every 2 months, I'm sending an update to every single investor that I've met, right? Whether we're interested, whether not interested, whether we're passing on, said no. There's 100 of those, right? But the thing is, they don't say no because they don't like you or they don't like your product. They just say no because maybe their current mandate is not good. Maybe they don't have the fun at that time. And by keeping them updated every single month, then they see progress. They see that, well, you're actually doing something that scale. They're getting excited. And then you create that virtuous circle. It's like as soon as you get a check, everybody knows about it, and they're like, oh, this one put a check, and then another check, and then every month you're getting new checks, and everybody's like, oh, now I want to be part, and I want to meet you again. I want to learn a little bit why are those guys putting money, and you create that excitement among investors. You create that relationship over the long term, because that's also what you need. I mean, someone that just put money can be helpful, but is it going to help you grow in your journey, right? If you have a trust relationship, and I think that's the most, then you can talk about tough decision with them, right? Hey, I need to fire this person. What do you think, right? Or, hey, this is the problem that we face. Can you help me? And if you have a trust relationship with your investor, this changes the deal, right? It's not just pocket money, right? So that was, I think, the one of the good thing. And the second one is, I think that that was actually SOSV that helped us, improve that business update. But one of the things that struck me was actually extremely working is the thank you. So I'm always putting on my notes who is helping me, right? And publicly to all the investors saying, hey, this guy is, thank you for introducing me to that VC. Thank you for introducing me to that supermarket chain. And that critics, maybe other will say, hey, I want to help too, right? I have portfolio company. I know a lot of people. Maybe I can help this guy. So I always also put my needs, right? And that's something that what I'm working on, what we want to build, where are we challenged, right? So we have this big strategy on influencer, and we're struggling to measure impact, right? So how much is this guy bringing in terms of download? How much is this guy bringing in terms of revenue? It's very hard to track. It's not as easy as a Google ad, right? And yeah, I put that in 3 investors that I thought would not even reading my my business update said actually, hey, I know this startup, I know this tool, you should try it out. Talk to this founder, extremely useful, right? So that's my advice to entrepreneur. Keep your investor updated. It's not because they say no that they will never invest in your company. Maybe they will invest in 1 year, in 2 years. You never know. Maybe they will introduce you to your next investor. So be respectful. Ask them. Of course, it's not a spam. Ask them if they want to be part of your or receive your business update. But that potentially was one of the most powerful tools to keeping up with the investors.
Wow, that takes incredible. That's probably some of the best advice for any entrepreneur or founder that's listening, that's going into a fundraise or thinking about doing a fundraise, because you're right. Really, the biggest thing is keeping your network updated on everything that you're doing, and you never know when that next check or when it is that you're going to be able and when you need to tap on that network to be able to do a fundraise, or whether it's advice or anything along those lines. One of the things that we really like is the idea of just transparency, something along the lines of like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so it's almost better too when your investors come back with questions that are coming back and challenging or supporting or saying, we saw that in in your ugly section, you needed support here. Well, we actually can be able to provide that. It's the more transparency and kind of like openness you are to receiving, then that same will come back to you. And it's a mindset that is, it takes a muscle to grow, and a lot of tired fingers, I'm sure, with having to type out emails and send updates like that to your network. So I can imagine.
Yeah, at the beginning, it doesn't feel like very natural. I used to send maybe manual ones, but then I was forgetting people. And really, when I started to standardize, it becomes obvious that was impactful. Of course, there's information you can share, other that you cannot. I maybe do one for my current investors and one for the external investors. Yeah, but I agree. Transparency is key to building the relationship. I think that the VC world, especially in Southeast Asia, is small. So it's not because someone is telling you no that it doesn't like you, that it doesn't like your project, that it cannot introduce you to another investor, right? So you'd better create a nice relationship with this person and say, hey, thank you for saying no. Can you give me more feedback? What do I need to work on, right? And I think that's the best advice that they can give you. This is what we think is a problem for you. Your market size is not big enough. Your growth is not big enough, or you're not bringing enough customers, right? You take it as a challenge, right? If actually it's a fit, but just saying no for those reasons, because then you know that if you show them that you can bring more customers, that you can expand to a new market, that you can do this, then they have no excuse, right? They're like, hey, he's actually doing it, right? So now I believe in that guy, right? And so that's actually something that you can improve on. So don't take just the no. Also try to get feedback from the no, so that you know what you need to work on, what is exciting for this investor or for the investors in general. But the feedback is usually something that you need to take, and not just say, oh, he's saying no, is terrible guy, right? He's saying no because he's just seeing one part of your business. He's not in the day-to-day. He doesn't have the same vision or the same passion. He's saying he's looking at the numbers, so it means that your numbers are not good. So work on it.
Yeah. And no means not yet, right? In the startup founder mind. So
yeah, and exactly, and there's some countries, so including Thailand, where a lot of people will not say no, right? They will just not answer, not give you feedback, and that's quite normal, right? Because it's not that they don't want to do it, but it's just that you just started the relationship. So what did you expect? A check tomorrow? No, that's not how it's gonna happen, right? So you can be the kind of guy sending email, hey, did you forget about me? Right? Let's get a coffee next week, right? And I think that's the annoying part, because then you forces them to tell you no, it's not very positive, right? Well, at the contrary, just send an update. Hey, this is what we've done last month. This is incredible. We got this new investor on board. We got this new partner on board. This is what we want to do next month. What do you think, right? Do you think it's exciting? Blah, blah, blah. And if they're excited, they'll call you back.
Yeah, that's a really great point. There's a difference between, when it comes to persistence, there's a difference between being, I don't want to say annoying, but being pushy versus you're genuinely just providing updates to someone that you feel like would be a potential partner in the future. And at some point it does take 4 or 5 messages or updates before someone will say, hey, something this now looks interesting, I'd like to learn more. So as a founder, never count yourself out, because you never know when something's going to come through. So that's really great advice to be able to take away from just based on your experiences and what you do with maintaining that relationship with your network. And just before we head out into our last section of the podcast, in terms of, if you're looking, you have a crystal ball 2 to 3 years out, what are some of the key metrics or numbers that you would like to hit for Yindii in the business, whether that's from like a CO2 perspective, meals provided, so anything along those lines?
Yes, I mean for us, really the goal is reaching 1 million meal, potentially within the next 5 years, 3 years, sorry. Really 1 million meal a year. I think would be a big milestone. And that comes with strong impact. So it would be around 250 million kilograms of CO2 that we would offset from the planet. So that's, yeah, for us, one of the goal. People talk about $1 million, so that's potentially very similar, but it is really in terms of impact for us, how we're changing the world 1 meal at a time.
Fantastic. Just diving into it, what would you say has been one of your biggest failures in your career that you've had the biggest learning from?
Wow. As an entrepreneur, I think I'm doing mistakes every single day. That's part of the journey. I think I've talked about it, but maybe the first one was I should not have started alone. Right? I mean, I've tried to find someone, but not a big match, and on the way it didn't work. So maybe I should have refrained myself from just launching alone, rather than really trying to find the right person to help me along the journey, because it's very difficult alone. So you'd rather have people that have your back on that is complementary to you, have your back. And today it's so refreshing to say I have this tech problem, I just give it to my CTO. I have this marketing thing, I'll give it to my co-founder, and they will handle it and give me the feedback. So and when you have a difficult time, to have those guys' opinion is also very important. So that's my first piece of advice. The second one is if you, as an entrepreneur, get funding, you get also a lot of pressure that comes with the funding, right? It's Christmas time. You get your check and you're like, wow, now I can do whatever I want. But they also tell you, hey, you need to hire fast, hire fast, right? And so we had to build this tech. So I hired a CTO extremely fast, went through a couple of checks, but maybe not enough. Saw some attitude issues that could be, in the future, but I was like, I really need the tech here, right? And that was the worst decision ever, like to hire this guy. But he helped us, right? He helped us along the way. But then put you into the toughest decision when you have to fire people, and that's something that I hate. I'm always positive, and I'm like, no, it's gonna improve. This is gonna change, right? And so it's great to hire fast, but they always tell you you need to fire fast if it doesn't work. It's not that easy. I think there's the human part that kind of prevent you from really firing fast. But the more you wait, while the situation is not improving, this is impacting your runway, this is impacting your company. So I always look for red flags now during my interviews. First one is attitude. You don't want to have people that are just looking for a 9-to-5 job. It doesn't work with the company. I always ask them what incredible thing they've achieved in their life, because if they haven't done anything incredible in their life, why do you think they would do something incredible for you, right? So that's also something that really make the difference in the interview, to see whether those guys, those potential employees, would be a good fit for the company, because they impress you. If they don't impress me, then I'm like, not a match, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, attitude, and for me also, the values, right? We are a sustainable or impact company. So if you do not believe in what we do, it doesn't work, right? So I sometimes have people, going into interview, they don't even know what we do, and I'm like, what do we do? It's like, I think there's something about food, and I'm like, okay, no. You have to be passionate to work for a startup, and you have to be passionate on the topic, otherwise it doesn't work. I have those people that say, hey, I'm super sustainable, I'm doing a lot of things, and I'm like, what do you do? Well, I stopped using straw. I'm like, that's good, and what else? No, but that's what I did last year to change my behavior. And I'm like, do you use refill cups for coffee? Oh, that's a good idea, right? And I'm like, no, this is not going to work, right? You want people that are passionate about the topic, especially in our case, and that what also make the team strong, right? And the employee extremely engaged is because they believe in what we do, right? I think I would not get my co-founder if I didn't have an impact company, right? She was in big companies, earning a lot of money, and she's like, I want to do something that has an impact, right? And I have learned those incredible skills. Now I could use it in a company like that, right? I think if we were just a cryptocurrency or or I'm not saying that crypto is terrible, but it's just that you don't get the same passionate people, right? Or not for the same reason. Right? So I think that's one of our best competitive advantage is having an impact company attracts more passionate talent.
Yeah, and that ultimately leads to building a strong company culture, and that really as a founder, as CEO, that's something that in an early stage you have to actually build, because then it'll further push that momentum as you scale the business. So in terms of mentors, is there anybody you mentioned your prior CEO that you worked with or earlier in your career, but are there any other current mentors or people that you look up to for advice or support in your business today?
Yes, of course. I have a lot of now close friends and mentor that help me. So of course my investors, each of them, I chose each of them because they had a very particular set of skills or understanding of the industry. One of my angel investors is in a big retail group here, so it helped me understand much more how the food industry in those big company work. So that's extremely useful. I have more friends now than mentors, but when you go through a rough time, your runway is going super short. There's some stuff that, sometimes you need someone, external that have gone through those problems to give you a really honest feedback. So since the day I started, I always try to meet entrepreneurs that are either above me or in terms of fundings or scale, and some that are just getting started, because you always have something to share. But it's true that I have this friend from Belgium that I always called when I'm like down and I'm like, oh, this doesn't work and I don't know how to go there. We want to open Singapore, but we're struggling with this and that, right? And this guy is always like, in a minute, give me so much energy, give me a lot of confidence in myself, and always give me the right question back. Right? It's not really a guy that give me answer. It's a guy that give me question back, and he say, why didn't you do that? What would you want to do? Right? I want to do that. Okay, and why? And I'm like, oh, because this of this and that. And he said, you know what? That might not work because I've done it before, right? And so having people that have gone through the same tough moments and the important decision is actually strong added value in your day-to-day life. So someone you can pick up the phone and ask direct question, share your runway, share your problems, and that will give you not answers, but that will give you potential way to think about the problem in another perspective, right? I remember it was a couple of years ago where we were running out of money and the guy, I was super stressed, right? And instead of telling me you should go out to find investors already doing it, right? And other of those things where you're super stressed. And the guy told me, you're part of the 1%. And what is the 1%? I mean, the 1% that fucking stood up, launched their company, raised money, and go for it, right? And succeed. And you have 99% that fails. So yeah, you're gonna do everything you can to stay in the 1%, and If you fail, then you're going to be in the 99, and that's fine. It's okay. It happened to everyone, right? You're not going to die tomorrow. So there's much, much harder things, right? And company dies, and that's the life. And so now stop stressing. Think that you've done something incredible, but you don't want this to end, so go out and raise. And I was like, okay, I'm going now.
There you go. You feel like you're gonna run through a brick wall after that.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so having people that have gone through the same problems is just a big breathing.
Yeah, yeah, and one of those things is how you how you're able to manage stress too, because as a founder, when it comes to those tight times of will you have enough cash to be able to make payroll, or is this risk that of a project that you're going to be taking on going to be successful? You won't know the outcome. I mean, it's a different kind of stress from your everyday ordinary, whether it's like making a timeline or something like that. It's not only you that's impacted, it's your employees that are impacted, and that kind of has that compounding effect. So it's always great to have a really strong rock to be able to go back to and have them either hype you up or be that support for you. And our traditional closing question that we like to ask each of our guests is, what is the greatest piece of advice that you have ever been given?
I mean, when I started, actually, it was on the YC combinator classes, do things that don't scale. That was one of the, I mean, to achieve this explosive growth at the beginning, it never happens, right? You have to get your hands dirty, launch your MVP extremely fast, and try to understand very quickly what works, what doesn't work. So I remember doing my own deliveries in Bangkok at the beginning. So I was going to the shop, delivering for free to the customers. And it was exciting because I was getting real feedback real fast, right? From our customers. And that was extremely exciting. And it also taught me something is when I'm down, I usually call customers, right? So I'm trying to call customers to try to see whether we're doing things right, whether we're doing things wrong. But one of the good part is every time I meet customers or I talk to customers, they're like, I love what you do. Please continue, make it bigger, right? And when I feel down, this kind of talking to customer is actually helping me to see, hey, this is the right direction. We're doing the right thing. We know it's tough, but we're getting there, right? So that's something that is really, really, really good as an advice. Talk to your customers.
Yeah. Talk to your customers, get that reassurance, learn how to solve any of the problems that you feel like you may not be able to have figured out at that time. It's that customer feedback loop is always crucial. So that's exciting and a great piece of advice. And we want to thank you again for coming on to Rising Giants. It was fantastic to learn about your background, to learn about Yindii, and we are very excited to see about the future growth of the business and look forward to seeing you soon in Thailand.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks very much.
for inviting me, Dom and Max. That was a pleasure to share my experience, and also I invite every type of entrepreneur that want to meet in Bangkok, Hong Kong, or Singapore to reach out to me. I'm always happy and always try to find time for coffee and sharing experience.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.